Basketball is one of the most popular sports here in the country, and we can observe how Filipinos are obsessed in this game.
Okay, so today we will try to find out the application of physics, particularly on projectile motion in playing basketball.
Free throw is a part of a basketball in which a player is free to shoot the ball in the basket. Using physics, we can determine how to get a perfect free throw every time. In physics, there are three basic equations we can use to help us gather all parts of our situations. Those equations are final velocity is equals to initial velocity times acceleration times time. Distance is equals to initial velocity times time plus 1/2 acceleration times squared. And final velocity squared is equals to initial velocity squared plus 2 times acceleration times distance. Assuming that the distance of the ring from the ground is 3.05 meters and my height is 1.70 meters, while the distance of the ball from the ring is 5.08 meters. Using equation number 3, we can determine the initial velocity of y direction. Plugging in all the data we know to the equation, 0 is equals to initial velocity squared plus 2 times negative 9.8 meters per second squared times 3.05 meters minus 1.7 meters is equals to initial velocity in y direction is equals to 5.14 meters per second. To determine the time traveled by the ball, we can use equation number 1. Plugging in all the data we know, 0 is equals to 5.14 meters per second squared plus negative 9.8 meters per second squared times time. Time is equals to 0.52 seconds. To determine the initial velocity in x direction, we can use equation number 2. Plugging in all the data we know, 5.80 meters is equals to initial velocity times 0.52 seconds plus 1/2 times 0 times 0.52 seconds squared is equals to initial velocity in x direction is equals to 11.15 meters per second. Using the x and y components of the velocity, we can determine the value of initial velocity for the diagonal direction. With the equation, initial velocity in diagonal direction is equals to square root of initial velocity in x direction squared plus initial velocity in y direction squared. Plugging in all the data we know, initial velocity in diagonal direction is equals to square root of 5.15 squared plus 11.15 squared. Initial velocity in diagonal direction is equals to 12.27 meters per second. To determine the angle of projectile motion, we can use the equation initial velocity in x direction is equals to initial velocity in diagonal direction times cosine q. Plugging in all the data we know, 11.15 meters per second is equals to 12.27 meters per second times cosine q. Angle q is equals to 12.99 degrees. In order for me to shoot the ball, I need an initial velocity of 12.27 meters per second and at 12.99 degrees.
So behind those excitements and fun in playing basketball, there are also some explanation on physics, particularly on projectile motion, that could lead us on taking the right shot or maybe winning a game.